There are the kind of people who play video games to win, and then there are the people who play Crusader Kings 3. Welcome to Greybeard Gaming. This week I'm going to be talking about Crusader Kings 3. Of course, I did promise it last week. I figured I should talk about it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about, first off, just a quick overview of what the game actually is in case you haven't actually played a Crusader Kings game before. Second, I'm going to talk about some features that they've implemented to make the game a lot easier to pick up and try for new players. And last, I'm going to talk about some things that have just improved the game overall. Some new features, some new things, and what hasn't changed at all, on the other hand. And then if you stick around to the very end of the video, I've got this weird little bonus extra thought as well that I have bouncing around in my mind castle. So if you've bounced into this channel over the last week and you're one of the 20 people that have subscribed, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. If you want to join now, because you haven't already, please do hit the subscribe button down below. But without any more preamble, let's just jump into it. Let's make some babies. Let's go. Baby time. Holy crap, my guy just grew a giant beard. He bearded up. First off, what the heck is this thing? It is a really weird game. It's not like a lot of other video games that you've played, probably. It is a grand strategy game, not to be sort of confused with what might be called 4X, which is sort of like your more civilization type games where you have a very clear end goal, lots of ways to win, you have to explore and blah, blah. It's not that. This is actually grand strategy and RPG, where you actually play as a family. Of course, you do have one person who you are playing as and make all the decisions for at a time, but then you actually go through their lineage. So when your one character passes away, you then become your heir, and you continue on and on. You try to build up your family, your dynasty, your fortune, your prestige, all of these things as a family. Of course, you can rule over nations and empires even, but it really is about that family dynamic and how people are connected. Some people have even likened it to The Sims, but medieval with a lot more backstabbing, which is sort of true, except for you don't actually get to go into the castle and see your little, your king walking around and taking a dump in his latrine or anything like that, which is probably for the best. If it sounds fun, sort of controlling the connections and relationships between royal families in the early to late medieval era, then this might be a cool game for you. But sort of the actual gameplay aspect, I should mention, it really is not really based around winning. And if you approach it from that angle, you might not have a good time. I know that I sometimes have trouble not approaching it from that angle because I do like to win video games, and so I'll just start conquering and gobbling up territories, and eventually I get screwed over, and then it just feels bad because all of a sudden you don't have all that land that you just took, but you have to approach it like it's a story. You have to approach it like, let's see what happens. Let's try our best to, do X, Y, or Z, and it really doesn't hold your hand there. You get to choose what it is you want to do, but then you have to roll with it and see, like, holy crap, my guy got chlamydia. That's crazy. And that's just how it goes. So, what did they change about the game to make it easier for new players? First off, why did they have to make it easier for new players? If you take a look at Crusader Kings 2, it was a very daunting, heavy, complex game, and Crusader Kings 3 in all rights is the same. It is complex and heavy. However, they've made it a little easier to parse. First off, there is a very in-depth tutorial right away that walks you through actually quite a bit of the main gameplay, and then once you've finished up the tutorial and you have a pretty good grasp on things, it just sort of rolls that into your first playthrough. So you can just keep going as Ireland in what they call Tutorial Island if you want to just play that way, or you can back out at that time, start a new game, and go play in Portugal or France or wherever the heck it is you wanted to go. On top of the fairly decent tutorial, there is a couple other features that make it very friendly to new players. A lot of the information in the game is actually added through tooltips inside the menu. So every time something happens, it shows all of the things that are being affected. And then once you see the box pop up that's explaining that, you can wait and then mouse over into the box and look at anything within that box. And so you have this sort of like tooltip inception where you can see What does this thing mean? Oh, that's interesting. What does that mean? And you just keep going and going until you have like 8 boxes up on your screen, but you've gone to the bottom of the rabbit hole and you now understand everything. And one other great feature that they added is a very well done sort of suggestion bar. It just is always hanging out there with a little number. You can completely ignore it if you just want to play your own game and not really worry about that, but it gives you a lot of good little heads up on these are the titles that you have that you could use. Stupid fridge. I'm gonna turn off my fridge. It's loud. Now I just really have to remember to turn it back on or else all my food spoils. So there's that. Hopefully this video doesn't take that long. So yeah, the suggestion bar. It's really, really helpful because it just tells you all these things that you would want to know at quick glance. So it says, these are the titles that you have that you could, use to start a war with people. This is somebody who needs to find a marriage. You don't have very many knights. All these sort of things that you want to know, but maybe wouldn't have noticed right away. And now you can get a jump on those things and fix up. It just kind of gives you a quick sort of way to keep pace in the game and keep up making actions, especially if you're new and you're not sure what you want to do. So what are the things that were great already that they kept in the game and have improved since? I should say that all of the complexity of Crusader Kings 2 seems to still be there. I saw some complaints online that they dumbed it down, but I don't really feel that way. It seems like every bit of complexity is still there. In fact, it seems that some things have been added to, really. Of course, you still have all of your same insanely complicated family trees and different types of succession laws and crown authority and all this different stuff. Then there's all these different kinds of kingdoms and chieftainhoods and different stuff. It goes. I think the map even goes further now out into the east, into Middle Asia, and down into parts of Africa as well. It's really quite incredible. But of course, you have all of your same complexity with your family and your courtiers. Is it courtiers? I don't know. Courtiers. Put the word here. Marriages, friendships, allies, rivals, all these things. But there was a DLC in the previous game that was almost necessary to kind of just add a bit of that RPG to the game, which allowed you to choose a focus for your main character. That type of gameplay has been shoved to the front in this game, where now your main character not only has a focus, but there is a full tree that they get to choose their life's focus and start taking points in that once they successfully do something in that realm. There's a stress system now where if you're not doing things that line up with your character's normal sort of behaviors and motives, it stresses them out until the point that they need to do something about it, which can often cause some pretty big issues. One of my first playthroughs, my character was very stressed out and he just kept going to the brothel to take care of that. And it worked. His stress went down, but he, did get an STD. I know I mentioned that earlier. There's a lot of STDs in this game. Kind of crazy. SDIs? I don't know what they call it anymore. When I was in school, it was STDs, all right? You kids, you little kiddos. And then this seems like a small thing, but it really wasn't for me. The animated characters make a huge difference because it really shows what's going on with them. In my first playthrough, I had an heir, or a potential heir, who kept getting in duels with people. He loved to fight. He had a very high martial score, so he would literally just show up to people's houses and challenge them to duels. And it asked me if I wanted him to stop, and as the king, I was like, no, get at it. Like, I don't care. You're gonna, be a great swordsman. I've got 5 sons. If you die in your duels, that's fine, I guess. Oh, this game makes you a terrible person. After a while, he got wounded and scarred and eventually lost an eye. And you look at his character sheet, and now he's got, a little thing over his face. You can see he's bruised and battered. It shows, like, your characters are living their lives, and they look different because of it. Different characters are either happy with you or scowling at you, and you check out their profiles. It just gives them a lot more life, and it really is a huge, huge improvement from the previous game. One thing that I would have liked to see them push a little bit further is the combat system. It does seem like there's been a little bit added with some of the options with men-at-arms and knights. However, it feels like, in this game, the fighting really is big number versus slightly bigger number. They fight, oh look, the big number won. Like, it feels like Risk, I guess. Like, it doesn't really feel that exciting. There's no choices you get to make tactically with the battles that I know of. I play a lot of games like Total War and, Mountain Blade Warband? Bannerlord? Mountain Blade Bannerlord, where you actually get to, go from the overland map to being on the battlefield and seeing what's happening. Even if there was just some kind of an animation to see what was happening on the battlefield, it would make me feel more in touch with the fights that are going on and less like just two numbers are coming and fighting each other. And so I was thinking the other day, this is the bonus thought, by the way, I was thinking the other day, it's really crazy to me that, from playing this game, you learn a lot. You feel like you get a really good grasp, if you haven't already kind of understood how medieval feudalism kind of works. You will get a really good concept of that from playing this game. It's very educational in that way. You'll understand better what it means to have somebody in your court, how that works, why you need them. I mean, I sort of get it. It's kind of confusing still. And of course, how the hierarchy works of having barons, dukes, petty kings, emperors, and how all of those sort of regions nest within each other, how holdings work, how, what a domain is, all these things. You'll learn a lot of it by playing this game. But it made me think, I'm a dad, and I am kind of concerned about how things are going to go when my little girl grows up and, becomes a kid or even a teenager someday, and how I'm going to be able to rule my household. And it really does make you kind of think about it a little bit. It's kind of weird that these sort of power structures exist, from the highest sort of power structure being a kingdom where you control a large group of people, all the way down to just a family system where you only control indirectly control the people in your household. And I thought about what it means to be a good king and to be a good father, and how these things kind of mirror each other, how a balance of being both not a tyrant but strong, and understanding, but not to a fault. It's interesting. You need to strike a balance with your kingdom, and you need to strike a balance with your family. And that's what this game is all about. It's about finding these balances, it's about finding these relationships, and it's about ruling fairly and justly. Or, of course, it's about anything you choose for it to be, because this game is crazy, and you can really create whatever story you want. I hope I didn't go too far off the deep end with that one. It's a little heady. It's a little deep. But anyways, if you enjoyed the video, please do throw me a like. And if you haven't already, do subscribe to the channel so you get next week's video. And if you'd like to let me know what video games you'd like me to review, please do let me know in the comments as well. Thanks for watching, guys. Graybeard, out.